Hey there, it's Nathalie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Hey, I am so excited that you have subscribed. If you've already subscribed, because I just passed 25,000. Yay! If you haven't subscribed, be sure, and if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Anyway, I'm in my friend's travel trailer that she and her husband just bought, and she wanted to do a curtain treatment that she didn't want lots of ruffles. She wanted it to look sort of like a cornice with not much fullness and a little bit of gather in the body part. One rod. So that was the trick. So I'm going to show you how I made these curtains for their travel trailer as they go on their adventures. I'm using these curtains as my reference a little bit. We're not going to do this ruffle, but I'm using this for my width measurement and this for the length measurement and then the width of the body of the curtain. So we're going to do, this is in two pieces. I'm going to do it in one piece. So I've cut the body of the curtain. Let me see what my measurement is. I've already got it cut 25, which is the length, plus the hem, plus the top, by 40 wide. And then my this is going to be like not a valance, more like a cornice, except it's not going to be padded. And this is a pretty heavy piece of fabric. You can kind of tell it's pretty coarse, not quite as heavy as canvas, but almost. And it is 15 by 31. So what I've done, let me show you this. I took this. She does not want the ruffle at the top, so I have eliminated that. That's going to be where my stitch needs to be. So I folded this down, making a rod pocket. Then there's the bottom of the curtain. I folded this up. I wanted to have some stability, so I added this extra length to it, and that's what I'll do. And I will line my curtain up, the body part, and I'll show you. This is not going to make sense right now. So, but I'm going to line it up here. So when I turn this down, I'm going to stitch it here, and then when I turn it down, I'm going to stitch there again. Anyway, stay with me. Don't go away. It's going to be cute. I've already given her the big curtain for the big window, and she loved that. So I'm going to show you how to do this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my serger, and I'm going to serge just this one edge is all that's going to need to be serged. So on my calculations for the width of this piece, the window is 23 wide, and so the little old-fashioned kind of, metal little curtain rod, it's 2.5 on each side, of the turn. And so I added 5 inches, and then it's also going to be 1.5 inches to turn under to finish the edges, so I added 3 inches. So 23, then I wound up cutting it 31, so 2.5 for the rods, that's 5, and 1.5 inches on each side, that's 3. So I'm going to turn it under 1.5 inches, and then I'll turn under just like 1/4 of an inch to do a hem. Find my pin cushion, excuse my head. I've already serged the edge. I'm going to pin over here on this side away, so whenever I go to the sewing machine, I can just turn that under like that. So 1.5 inches, and I've got my little guide, my seam guide, set to 1.5 inches. And I'm going to do the same thing on the body of the curtain. So I'll turn under both of the edges there, 1.5 inches, and the same thing on this. Now the curtain was 25 wide. What did I tell you how wide I cut it? I cut it 40. The curtain's 25 wide, 23 wide, and so I gave it some extra room for a little bit of a gather, not 1.5 times or 2 times, but just a little bit of a gather. I have this turned under 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to just barely, and I've done this for a lot of years, so I'm just going to barely turn this under, maybe about 1/4 of an inch, something like that. And if you want to pin it, you can. I've got my stitch length set to about On my machine it's like 3.5. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. I've got it 1.5 inches. I'm going to turn under a little, not a 1/2 inch, but maybe about 1/4 inch under. Again, I could press it, but I'm not going to. This is pretty heavy fabric and it's easy to control. Now the other thing is I could have serged it and then stitched it flat, but I'm not. But you can if you want to serge it or zigzag it and then stitch it. And this is what it looks like on the top side. And just a little tip, I know better than this. I don't know what I was thinking, but these pins running this direction is really dangerous. And more than a few times, I could just stop and turn them, but more than a few times I have caught my hand as the fabric is pulling through. So I'm just going to be really careful to keep my hands out of the way of the pin. I should have done it with a point going that way. At the bottom, I measured up 2.5 inches. Now this is for a rod pocket, but it could be for just a plain hem. Just depends on whether she decides to put those rods in there or not. And then I turned under about 1/2 inch. I want to make sure I've got room to run the rod through there. So I don't want to get it too tight. And I pinned all the way across. Now I'm not going to have any kind of a stitching at the very bottom, but you could if you wanted to, but I'm not going to. And this next part is really important. To me, it may not be to you. But there's a very definite pattern on this, a top side, a bottom side, and I want to make sure that I've got the top running the right direction. Now right there I've got it upside down. I'm kind of showing you that it is upside down. And now you can see the pattern repeat. See the gold flower and then the flower with the red border around it. That is definitely the top of the design. I'm ready to stitch the rod pocket, and I want to do a back stitch at the beginning and at the end of this because I don't know that it'll have any stress on it, but that's always a good idea, and because it's a finishing edge. All right, a little back stitch at the end. So there's my pocket where the rod will go in. I have a Frixion pin. It is heat erasable. I bought that from Amazon. I'll put the link in the description box below. And I'm going to just fold this in half. I could measure this and do all the calculations, but I'm just going to fold this in half, and then I'm going to mark this on the wrong side halfway, and then I want to make another mark at 1/4 of the way. So I'm going to line that mark up with the edge of the curtain here, and then mark here and on the other side, on the other end. There we go. You can see that good. That's going to go away whenever I hit that with an iron, if I do iron this, or I can just, hit it with a little shot of steam. It's not going to show anyway. It's going to be underneath. A little mark here. And then now I'm going to show you a little cheater trick on doing some little light gathers. Or you could do heavy gathers with this same technique. I'm going to go back to the sewing machine. I have some nylon thread. Now, I have you don't need this big of a roll. I got that at a garage sale, but it's a nice strong. You could use crochet thread, and I am going to set this like in the middle. I think that I probably have a foot that will accommodate this, but I'm just gonna do it like this. I'm gonna line this edge up with the edge of the fabric up with the edge of the presser foot. I've got the cord in the middle. I'm gonna set my machine to a zigzag, and I want it kind of longish, so I'm going to set it at 4. If that's not long enough, I'll go back. And then I'm just going to make sure that I don't stitch into this little cord, and I've got enough out at the end not to pull that away, okay? So here we go. And I'm going to go all the way to the end. And I want to leave myself probably about 6 or 8 inches of tail. It's not really that important, but you do want some. This part may not seem like it's going to make sense, but it will in a little bit. So the body of the curtain is going to go this way, and this is going to turn up underneath. So this is going to be this is my stitch line right here in a minute on the top stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure down 1 inch and make a mark. Again, using my Frixion, and this really won't show, so if you wanted to use a different pen, you could certainly do that. So I'm going to make a couple of marks. I said this is 1 inch down. And this is kind of a specialized treatment because of it being like a cornice rather than having a ruffle top, and it's not going to have a little cap at the top of the curtain. So this is going to be where I'm going to place the edge of my fabric, but I also need to mark it halfway and 1/4, like we did the body of the curtain. And making sure that, because this is going to be like this and like this. So this is the wrong side. This is the right side. So I'm marking on the right side of this. And this is just so that I can see this. So I'm going to mark it halfway. Right in here. Get my head out of the way. And then 1/4. So in half and then in half again. Could mark it with a pen. Doesn't have to be with this kind of a pen. It could be with this kind of a pen, or it could be with a safety pen. Find my halfway. It's right there and there. And there it is. All right, go ahead and mark that one so I can move that straight pin out of the way. All right, now then, the body of the curtain. And this is the right side, so this is also going to be right side to right side. Right sides together. And I have a 1/4 mark there. And this is my edge that I'm going to line up on. So I'm going to put my straight pin right here. Not pin, don't pin into my drawstring. There's my mark there for my halfway. And let's see, it's going to be like that. Again, get my head out of the way. There's my 1/4 mark. And this is not going to be, you can see it's not going to be a whole lot of gathering. And I want to take this one in just a tiny little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Just so that it's not hanging out on the end. And the same thing on this side. Just a little scooch in. All right. Now then, pull this thread, and that will get our gathers started. Now, one thing I'm going to do is, like on both of the ends, now to start off with, let me scoot this over a little bit closer to the end, and I want to wrap this thread, it's kind of a figure 8 back and forth. Just to hold that thread from going anyplace. It'll make it easier for me to adjust the little fullness. And it does, like I said, it doesn't have a whole lot in there. As I draw this thread in, get those little gathers adjusted. And then I can go to the sewing machine. want to go ahead, once I get this adjusted, I want to, and it's firm, and I've got that firm down there, and I'm firm here. I want to go ahead and wrap this thread on this pin. Now you can use this same technique, like if you're going to do a little petticoat or a ruffle on a cup towel or something like that. You can do that same technique. Now, one of the things that I like to do whenever I'm doing like a large amount of ruffles, say like I used to like in little girls' skirts or something like that. That was back in the day. I would do a double row of ruffles of this kind of stitching, double row of thread, so I could get the fullness more evenly distributed. But for this is going to be just fine. Put my sewing machine back to a straight stitch and about 3.5, and I'm going to get this out of the way, and I want to stitch across not the pin but that, all of that back and forth thread. So let me start, and then I'll get that pin out of the way, and that'll help secure this drawstring. Alright, so then I want to just kind of, in this little section, adjust my fullness. Keep in mind about my little 1-inch mark that's there. And my hand is probably going to get in the way a little bit. I apologize about that. I could adjust my camera someplace. And I'm going to do this all the way to the end. Alright, I've got this all stitched down, but let me show you something cool about this. You don't have to get rid of it, you can leave it there. I just was going to show you. You can just pull that thread out. So this is what this looks like so far. This is the stitching that I just did, and again, this is not important whether that stays or, because it's going to be covered up. And front side, here it is, like that. And this is all going to be, this is going to be underneath. So I'm going to turn it back over, and I'm going to use my Frixion pin again. Now, I could have left this part off. I didn't have to have this much, but I'm going to show you because it's going to make it easy, and it's also going to add some stability to it. So here's my pattern again, and this is going to be the stitch line, but I'm going to go down, I'm going to mark it down 2 1/4 inches. Alright, so I'm going to bring this edge up to that mark. Pin that. I'm going to pin this, not here, I'm going to pin it down into the body down here. Let's do that right here too. This is what you get whenever you make up patterns as you go along, and you don't really have a sewing pattern to go by. You just try to figure out, okay, this is what she wanted, and how am I going to get from that to this? Took me a little figuring, a little finagling. You like that word, finagling? All right. So now this is my fold line. This where we marked that 2 1/4, that's my fold line. So that's going to go down like that. Pin that again. And again. I'm double checking this. So we're not going to do this little top ruffly part. It's going to be there because it's going to be like a cornice. I'm a little bit longer than that, but about 1/4 inch. Just they're consistent. So, and this, the rod pocket is actually going to be 1.5 inches wide. So now that I have this folded down, I'm going to mark down 1.5 inches, and I'm not going to mark that with the Frixion. I could, but I'm just going to mark this with a pen as I go. 1.5 inches. This is going to be on the back side, so it'll have a nice clean finish. One more row of stitching and we are going to be done. The other thing I'm doing on the front is making sure, now this is a little bit wider than my little measuring stick, so I'm just going to use my yardstick. I'm going to put my finger right there, and I'm going to come across and make sure that I am the same width all the way across, and I am. Now I'm ready to stitch. That's pretty thick right there. Get my fingers out of the way. Back stitch. I'll do the back stitch at the beginning and at the end. So I've got two little guide things going on. I'm eyeballing right here, this little shape that's right here, and then also that this is just a little smidgy away from this edge. I could put me a piece of tape right there. It doesn't like that so thick right there. All right, let's do a little back stitch. This is so thick right through here. All right, so I'm going to use two different guides as I go. One is the edge of this serging stitch, and then the other is just over here. And guess who is coming to see me? Can you see her? There she is. This is how it looks on the top side. It's nice and smooth, and so when this is on the curtain rod, this will be smooth. It will not have any gathers in it. Only this is going to have the gathers, and they are set and fixed, and they are caught underneath like that. So that's the back side of the finish on the back side. Then the little rod pocket at the bottom has a nice finish. So these are ready to be hung in the little camper, not a camper, a travel trailer. The light in here is really bad, and I haven't been able to figure out where the light switch is, and I didn't want to make something slide out that shouldn't slide out. But there's two of these smaller windows like that, and then she has decorated in here with all of these cute pillows, and I have enough fabric left that I'll probably be making her another pillow to go with these curtains. It actually has a rod pocket at the bottom. If she wanted to put a little rod at the bottom, she could. So thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing. Be sure that you share me with your friends. If this was helpful, leave me a comment. I love your comments. And if you've got suggestions, those are okay too. Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.